Hey guys, Mr. C, silverfox. We're going in a little question and answer time with the fox here. So we're going to move on to another question that's been asked on the thread. If you haven't been added to the Tusk upper tier thread, hit me up below. We'll get you added in right away. It is free and it's a great way to grow your masculinity and learn about dating. So let's go through the next question here. Why, for both men and women, the fear of something one desires trumps the attraction? In other words, why oftentimes fear stops a guy from going after the dazzling chicks, the duo or the trio that he sees walking down the road? And in the same way, why does fear stop a girl from going after, or better, accepting a man who has high status and has his shit together? Okay, let's break down your question a little bit here, because it's a little tiny bit confusing, and I'll see if I can get this right. You're talking about, in your words, the attraction-fear duality. I think you've got two things that are separate, that are linked together. Women are not the same as men, so I don't think you can put them into the same camp here. I think there's different things going on. So let's deal with the second part first. In the same way, why does fear stop a girl from going after, or better, accepting a man who has high status and has his shit together? First off, women do not go after guys, but I think what you mean is like fall for or allow herself to be wooed by a guy that has his shit together. If you're going after women that have extreme issues, like maybe she has a really bad daddy issues, she's got really low self-esteem, whatever, she's got some kind of serious issues going on, then yeah, you could get into some scenario where the girl is she can be addicted, the same as guys can. They would be addicted to rejection or forms of abuse, or they replay their own trauma. Maybe their dad always told them they were stupid, and so they look for guys that tell them they're stupid. Or the classic abusive man syndrome, where it's like a woman is in a relationship with an abusive man, she dumps him because he's abusive, and then goes into another relationship with another abusive man. And you could have been one of the guys that was a great option at that time, and she's just addicted to replaying her trauma. Okay, I think that's a little bit different here, because any woman that is actually high status, like an upper tier woman, she doesn't go for guys like that. That's why things like negs and stuff, like mystery method stuff, works good in women that are drunk or have low views of themselves. But the women that I date are very, very high class women. They have their shit together. Women like that flow with what we call hypergamy, which is essentially women always go for the best opportunity that they have to procreate. So they go for the highest class man that they can get, the most upper tier, the guy with the most chance of succeeding, the most chance of passing on good genetic material for her babies. This is hypergamy. You can search it online. You've probably come across it in the Rational Male. So I think that kind of explains the part that you're talking about with women. Now, for guys, why does the guy's fear of something often trump what he wants to do? In other words, he sees a stunning woman, but he is too afraid to approach her, go after her. Well, I think it's a couple things. One, the guy has no self-esteem. So the guy in your scenario is controlled by his fear. There's a couple problems with that. One, being controlled by your fear is very feminine. Being controlled by your emotions is very feminine. We all feel emotions. I feel emotions. Every masculine man feels emotions. But part of being masculine is not being controlled by your emotions. So a classic scenario is that, a daughter falls off a bike and she's very feminine. So her parents say to her, oh, you hurt your knee, poor poopsie, you don't have to go back on the bike. If it's big and scary, we just won't do that anymore because we don't want to make you feel scared. Whereas a lot of times, the approach with a boy will be like, oh, you banged your knee or whatever. Okay, get back up on the bike. I have a guy that I know, I think in one of the groups, I can't remember who shared this story. He got beat up when he was, I don't know, I think 15 or something like that. And he went home and he was kind of, I got beat up at school. And his dad said, go back out and you beat up the other kid or you can't come back home. Something like that. That's very tough love. I wouldn't recommend that. But the guy's point was, what he was sharing in the group, was that it was really good for him because it forced him to face that fear right away. Now, this isn't parental advice. I have no clue what to do if you have a son or a daughter. But I can say that there is a big difference there between, oh, you don't feel like it, poor poopsie, don't do it, which is what we see in our culture all the time now because we have a very feminine culture. But the masculine is, regardless what your feelings are, get in there and do your shit. And so, for example, here, you're talking about a guy that's very afraid to approach this group of 4 or 5 girls. You know, I feel fear sometimes when I do approaches, but I've learned that I just do approaches. You know, if the voice of fear is saying, oh my God, that might be her parents, she might be underage, that might be a police officer, who knows? I just say, well, yeah, but if it is, I'll deal with it, I'll pivot. I'm really good and charming in the moment, so I'm not scared about what's going to happen or where things are going to go. But the reason why I'm not scared of where things are going to go is because I've trained a lot in myself and invested in myself. So now, if things go to the left, I go to the left. If things go to the right, I go to the right. If things go straight, I go straight. You know, it's not difficult for me to adapt and pivot because I've spent so much time interacting with all different types of groups and all different scenarios, in all different moods and all different cultures, right? And so you can build the same in yourself, and that is actually a healthy sense of self-esteem and confidence, because when you know that you can adapt no matter what's going to happen, it's not that the fear goes away. It's not just that the fear goes away, although it does. But even when the fear is there, you just stop listening to it. It's like, you know, it's like background music. You can hear the background music, but you can still function and do whatever you're trying to do. And so I think that would be something to try and go after, and, you know, to try and do it that way is much better than being controlled by your emotions. So I think that gives you a good idea of the answer to your question. Take care, guys.